welcome back to another episode of Branding with Bags. This is episode 2 of 2026, and we are diving into the ins and outs list. I know what you're thinking. It's already like 2 weeks into 2026. What are we doing posting an ins and outs list? But you know what? It's never too late, and the new year really doesn't start until like March anyway, so let's just go and get into it. In today's episode, we're diving into my ins and outs for Branding with Bex podcast. These are some that you may want to take with you and run with as you head into the new year. And we're sharing all the things that you can maybe use for your content creation journey, for your personal growth journey. I think this is going to be really helpful for someone who is looking to become a creator in the new year, and it's things that I'm definitely going to try applying myself. So let's just dive right into it. All right, so starting with the ends, the first thing I will say, which I think is going to be the most important, and the harsh reality of as we move forward into this AI takeover world that we're experiencing right now, your personal experience is going to be the value online. It's not going to be the perfectly aesthetic post. It's not going to be the great, photo or photography that is amazing, because the harsh reality is people can create these things through AI. You could create the perfect video on ChatGPT is what I'm saying. And you can also create some photos on ChatGPT. And it doesn't give that personal layer. I think people are going to be craving that as we head into the new year because so much content is AI generated. You're going to see those real experiences shine through. This is why we see so many people go into TripAdvisor before they book a trip. Why so many people go onto Yelp before they go somewhere, or why they look at the Google reviews before they go to a restaurant, because they want to know a real person's experience going into these places. And while we're looking at our ins and outs list, I think that's so important that it stays an in, and it's something that we really push for in the new year. People want a real person. They want someone to have actual influence over them as an influencer. And ultimately, if you're looking to grow as an influencer, get people to buy anything or really follow your journey, you're going to have to show a personal side of you. In a future episode, I will show you how you can grow a personal brand without TMI and oversharing. For the sake of this episode, we're really just diving into a broad overview and personal experience. Your perspective is really the value moving forward. Next, we're going to think about relatable themed content. So as we head into the new year, what is a theme that you can really tie into? And you want to look at like your audience, right? So you have a niche, but the niche doesn't have to be a thing. So the niche isn't the topic itself. The niche is who you're speaking to. Here's an example. Overall, I'm speaking to someone that's looking to grow their personal brand, to have fun online, to also obtain that balance online and not be like stuck and glued to their phone, and to create that like authentic relationship with their followers. That's really the idea of a niche. It's like who I'm speaking to when I'm recording these things. So I want my podcast to be positive, but also very real with you. I don't want to like sugarcoat it and to be this one of these podcasts that's like, just do this and then you'll get a bunch of followers, because that's not really the reality of growing online. And also like, how do your goals fall into that, if that makes sense? Next, we want to share things like shareable moments worth saving. So did you have a really great experience somewhere that you're so stoked to share about? You went to this awesome restaurant, you tried this new meal, you had this, great event that you attended, or you went to this really fun concert. It's like, what was that experience that you had? And you want to share that so that people save it and want to come back to it later on. So content is really about shareable, savable moments. You're posting that content. It doesn't have to be like super, earth shattering of something that you did. It just has to be an experience you had. Maybe you had the best burger ever, which is something I will be sharing on my page soon. Maybe you had, you had to try the latest viral Starbucks protein coffee and you hated it. So it's really about seeing what works and sharing your personal authentic experience with your audience. So those are actually 2 examples of content that I have going out soon. But those savable moments that people want to share with their friends and say, hey, we should go check out this place, or oh, so glad I didn't spend the money on that Starbucks because look at this review. Next, we're going to talk about positivity that feels grounded and not forced. Okay, so the positive living in, positivity era, all that stuff, it's great, but people can tell when it's like a forced fake thing. People can tell when someone's like not real with them and they're really kind of just creating this positive content to be like a filler spot on the feed, or has like a cool aesthetic backdrop, but they don't really feel the positivity eluding from you. So we want to do that in 2026. That's something that we're saying is in. And now the outs. Generic tips. Now this is the first one, and it's the most important, I think, for when it comes to those content creators. We want to think about what we can do that AI can't, okay? One of those things that AI can do very easily is create generic tips and create empty advice. So AI can create those things very easily. You can go to ChatGPT and search for a generic tip and trick. If anybody wants to do something, they don't need to go to a creator and then search through all their content to find out how to do that thing. For the most part, they're probably just going to go into Google or ChatGPT and search, how do I do this? Or what are a few ways for me to do this? Also, AI can create that content that's really empty advice. So 5 tips and tricks to do X, Y, and Z. AI can already create that for someone. They're not really going to go through your content just to find that. The next is negativity for the sake of engagement. We see this a lot online, like I can't do this, or can you believe this, or things like that. And it's really just kind of flooding the feed with some more negative energy, which you really don't need, okay? Like obviously social media is full of a lot of negative things like the news, and the last thing we want to do is be like contributing to the negative space. We also don't want to chase trends that don't align with our page. So if there's an awesome trend that's popping off and you really want to jump on it, like by all means go for it. But if it's not something that's aligning with you and your personal brand, then I say skip it, okay? You guys don't need to be posting whatever the lip syncing or TikTok dancing or whatever it may be, just to post it. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward. Also, day in the life content without a clear theme is just not really taking off in 2026. We really want to be strategic about the day in the life content when it comes to aligning with our personal brands and our themes and our content pillars, and why are we sharing this? Because that overall aesthetic feel is just so easily generated by AI now that people don't need to see like the perfect cup of coffee, the perfect flat lay, the perfect X, Y, and Z, because ChatGPT can just create that for people now. Sorry, it's the harsh reality of what it is. And then also using AI to replace your voice instead of to support it. So you can use AI in a lot of great ways to really help get your message across there, maybe help you with writing, whatever that may be. But it should support it. It shouldn't replace it. Your voice is not ChatGPT. Your voice is you. It's your authentic experience. It's how you would talk about something to your friends. And that's what people want. So people want your real experience doing that. They don't want, a polished ChatGPT version. Keep that in mind as you're heading into the new year. These are just some takeaways I think that were really, really helpful if you're looking to grow a personal brand. Obviously, we can expand on this list in so many different areas, but I think for what we're doing in our Q1 clock in for January, which I say Q1 clock in, like I know it's mid-January already, but we're clocking in, we're getting started when we want to get started. We're not rushing into this new year. And I think you guys can relate to a lot of these. So I feel like as creators, we're like, what do we create content about this year? How specific do we get? Like, this should be the year of like having fun, posting the content, not sitting there saying, oh, it's not perfect yet, or it's not, aesthetically what I want the video to be. Because the reality is you can get a perfect aesthetic video, like created however you want through AI. And that's not what people want. Like, I think brands are going to want real creators that actually have an influence over their audience. There's already new platforms going out where all of the content is like AI content, and I really don't know the draw to go watch all that content, but people do go onto those websites or those apps. And if they do that, they know they're going into it for AI content. But when I'm on Instagram or on Facebook or, YouTube, I'm looking for like real people and real content and real days in the life of what they're actually doing and real lived experiences. I don't need to go see, a perfectly crafted video of, I don't know, whatever the aesthetic image is. Keep these in mind with you as you head into the new year. I think it'll be really helpful. And as we dive into the next little part 2 of this episode, this is a brief part, but we're going to dive into building a personal brand without sharing everything. And there's a lot of ways to do this. So when I tune into this podcast and I jump on Mondays, I share a lot about like little tips and tidbits of things that I've done. So sharing, whether I went to see a movie last weekend and my review of it, whether I hosted a party and some tips and tricks on how to do so, or, I share like a personal experience. I want you to think about is sharing your perspective, not your private life. So this is really about how you think, but not everything that you live. So your opinion is what's creating value. It creates that connection just as much as maybe the personal details about something that you did. So you don't necessarily need to dive into exactly what it's like for you, or like, so I shared my review of that movie. I didn't exactly dive into like when I went to see it. I shared that I did see it at Disney Springs, but I didn't share who I saw it with, what we talked about, things we did before and after. Like, I didn't dive into too many of the personal details. And if I did, that would have been fine too. I don't think that's really that personal. But you don't need to share all of the details of every experience. It's just really about how you think. So I shared my review of the movie. I said it was great for someone that's maybe looking to do something on a rainy, cold day, because it's like a 3-hour-long movie. Movies are not cheap anymore. They're pretty expensive. So it's definitely one of those that you go and you get your money's worth. And I shared my perspective. I didn't share my private life with you. Now, step 2, we want to think about letting your work speak before your story. So being consistent, offering clarity, offering quality, all of that's going to build faster trust than like super vulnerable things. People are following you for what you create and what you put out, not what you disclose. So people aren't really like, it's not necessarily the in-depth like experience that you had, but it's really about what you shared from that experience. So focusing on the takeaways, focusing on maybe those positive messages versus shedding a negative light on something, and really just thinking about letting your work speak before your story gets out there. So you don't need to share the full story with everybody, just those tips and those takeaways that you think would be influential for them to hear. So as we move into 2026, we're really looking at building a brand, but without sharing everything. You guys don't need to share everything in your personal brand. I think finding that balance is really important. I think being real and authentic with your audience is important, but getting really specific about what we want to share, what we want to keep private, because at the end of the day, it's still social media, it's still going out there. And yeah, these are my ins and outs list. This is what I would say when it comes to building a personal brand. Something that I've noticed as we head into this new season together is that my last podcast, there were some episodes that were definitely more prepared. And this year, it may not be as polished, but I feel like I want this podcast to be more authentic, real, raw conversations without too much marketing jargon. It feels a lot more like me sitting down and kind of sharing best practices. And this goes along with that ins and outs list that I just shared with you guys. The reality of understanding marketing and things that I've shared about is that you can probably prompt into ChatGPT how to teach yourself how to do marketing or how to teach yourself how to do all these things. It's not until you get to that real world application that you need to have a personal experience shared, like the ones I'm sharing with you, like why I'm sharing this advice, why I think it's important to be authentic, because I think that like you can't always get this from ChatGPT. I think that that's what people are going to want moving forward. Again, this is my personal perspective. I don't really know if this is the reality or not. People may love AI content, who knows? But I think that's what I really want is this podcast to be more of a space where you and I chat once a week. We talk about different things that are going on. I share some little ideas or things that you can take and run with. Take what you want, leave what you don't. And it doesn't have to be this like podcast that's so structured around facts and tips and tricks, because you can get that elsewhere. You can ask ChatGPT a prompt and it'll tell you. You can ask for 5 ways to do X, Y, and Z. You can ask for things like that. And that type of content I think is really not going to be popular this year. So a little behind the scenes of what to expect in this podcast episodes moving forwards. The first, I would say, definitely expect more yapping, of course, because I just continue to talk over here. So that's just what it is. It's just me chatting. And also expect some personal branding without TMI. And I think it's really important to protect our peace and our boundaries. Like I said, no need to share your vision board with everybody. No need to share everything that you're doing with everyone, but protect your peace. And this year we're going to talk about building that personal brand without sharing things that you feel like you need to share to the world. We're also going to talk about tangible steps about what's working and what's not. So things that we left in 2025, we're leaving in 2025. Things that we want to move forward with, we're going to bring them forward. And really just getting back to that fun content creation journey that we've all been on together. We're talking about business boss lady moves and like the real reality of what it's like to be someone that's putting themselves out there on the internet. And we're talking about how when you are successful, you'll find out who your true friends are. I think that is really valid. I think a lot of times you hear, oh, it's, the tough times is when you find out who your true friends are, but it's actually, I think both. I think it's a twofold. I think it's when you're going through a tough time, but also when you're successful, you really find out who's in your corner. And then we're going to talk about leveling up, because I want this year to be a great year for both of us. I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities together, hopefully some cool guests on the show to share some insights and, weigh in on different topics. Overall, I think this is going to be a year of fun and growth, and I'm really excited to do it with you guys. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning into episode 2, and I'll catch up with you all in next week's episode at the same time. Work for you.